Hey everyone, back with another review, and this time I wanted to move away from steel for a bit and actually show off a piece of soft kit that I have and actually have been using for a bit of time now, and that would be this custom Officer's L2 jacket from SPES. Now, as with all our reviews, I will just go through the ordering process, list some general things about the item that we're looking at, then just give some photos so you can look at it from different perspectives, and in the end we'll have some clips so you can actually just see the piece in motion. Though, if you've seen some videos from the last 10-ish month of this channel, then you will probably have already seen this, because it's been the jacket that I've been just using since and about last year, really. As we always do, we'll have some timestamps down in the description, so should you want to jump around, you can do so. Feel free. Okay, now formalities out of the way. When I say custom Officer's L2 jacket, what I mean by that is when I ordered this one, the 800 Newton rated fabric wasn't the standard offering. By now you can just get it in the shop. When I ordered it, it was a custom project. So I contacted SPES first by Facebook and then by email, and just basically had them put 800 Newton cover fabric on it in blue, and also had them change the color of the decorative straps, because blue and gold is the color of my club and I just think it looks really nice. So I didn't order through the standard way, basically I didn't order through the website. We talked about what I wanted. When it was clear, they entered the order into their system. I ordered early July 2020 and I received it early September 2020. So I've been using it for a good amount of time now, and I feel quite confident in just giving an impression of it, really, through just use. You can actually kind of see the discoloration from it already starting in. So one thing I would directly like to highlight is that this was the first thing I had custom made, or at least customized by SPES. In the meantime, two other things have joined ranks, and it was always a pleasant conversation with SPES, really. They were always very helpful and open in the emails that I exchanged with them. That is something I just really appreciate, I have to say. And also, as I said, this is custom sized. I'm basically a rectangle. I just don't work well with the custom sizes that SPES offers. And when ordering custom sized, I have made some bad experiences in the past, simply because when you have something custom tailored, custom made, ideally the person doing the work should take the measurements, because they know best how to interpret these measurements, really. When you do it yourself, there's always the risk of just some things not being quite right, and those just add up over the list of measurements that you take. Just as an example, shoulder to wrist, where on the wrist is that? Where on the shoulder do you put the measurement tape? And what I liked about doing it with SPES is that not only does SPES have a dedicated web page where they have some diagrams and just lists of what measurement is needed for what type of fabric, but they also have videos showing the measuring process. So you have a good orientation on, where it is on the shoulder that they put the measuring tape. And that just gave me some security in feeling sure that the measurements I take would actually end up being interpreted right. And I have to say, from result, this one really fits me quite well. I really think it feels good wearing it, I have to say. So, general things about the jacket: it's a light type jacket, so just by weight. It's of course heavier than the 350 Newton version, simply because 800 Newton rated fabric is the heavier material, just picking it up by hand, it can feel a bit heavyish sometimes. It comes in at about 2.5 kilos. As soon as you wear it, don't feel it at all. But also by protection, basically, I would say lightish type jacket. The things I can compare it to are an older AP model, a Nyman model, one of the earlier jacket models. Then I don't have it myself, but it is available in my club, so I could at least handle it. AP Light. And of course I also have the fencing kaftan from SPES. And in between those, I would say that the Officer's L2 is lighter than the old AP, lighter than the kaftan, but at the same time it's at about the same level, I would say, than my Nyman, and it feels about the same as the AP Light. So it is in that ballpark, basically. From the protection that you have, what you get is some extra padding on the shoulders and collarbone, which I think is really good. Some extra padding on the upper arm. On the lower arm, it is basically just the fabric and the inner material. And the same actually goes for the torso, only that in the front you actually have, to a degree, a double layer of the fabric, so you have a bit more there. I personally bought this to be my main jacket. I mainly do Napoleonic fencing, that is saber, broadsword, spadroon, smallsword, some later type British military saber, Hutton, and I also do Messer, and I've also used this for things like a bit of longsword, spear, dagger, pretty much everything I do really. And for for all the things I did for, you know, every weapon that I fenced with, it felt absolutely fine. It is light enough that I still feel I can move well, and that you don't get this feeling of when you put on the jacket and it's already like extra weight that you can just feel dragging you down, so to speak. So it's still quite light and movable, but it is also protected in the parts where I think it is necessary. Now, depending on what you do, I would maybe recommend putting some protection on the lower arm, because depending on the hits that you get, that can leave marks, really. I would generally recommend putting an extra shell on the elbow, but then again, SPES has the straps for that, so they are very easy to put on there and they will really not move around too much. So that is really quite good. So I liked the general level of padding and the general protection that I felt I got from this jacket. I couldn't travel as much around with it as I would normally have done because Corona, of course. So I couldn't also use it in any tournaments really. But as I said, it's about the same level as my Nyman, and that one I used in a number of tournaments and I felt perfectly fine with it. So I would have no problem of doing just the same with that. The only thing I personally maybe wouldn't do would be something like heavy longsword tournament fencing. For that I would probably rather use the kaftan because it's got more padding in the front and it's just generally a bit heavier, and would probably put on some heavier protection as well, just from the hard stuff. But you know, everything else and everything aside from that, I would feel perfectly fine with that. Things I particularly liked about the jacket are the general design of it. I just think it looks really good. I do like the inner mesh compared to what my old AP had, simply because this one just dries much quicker, really. Don't know about you, but I always kind of dreaded the second day of any event where I would have to force myself into a wet and probably still quite damp jacket. Not the most pleasant thing. I hadn't really had a chance to test it yet, as I said, Corona, but I feel this one will dry much better. Certainly from just, hanging it up after training, I feel that it dried much quicker, which is always really quite nice. There are some things that I would say you should probably be aware of when thinking about buying this one. Not necessarily bad things, just things to keep in mind. For one, just obviously, this is a right-handed design. Now, I'm ambidextrous personally, and I just like to switch hands. It's free endurance, so to speak. But it could, of course, happen that a thrust slips between the layers, and you still have the zipper to stop it, but that one isn't infallible. Something to be aware of, really, just when you use it. Hasn't happened to me yet, haven't heard of it happening to anyone, but a chance is a chance. It can happen. Another thing that I was kind of amused actually to find out is, of course, these buttons here are metal. And I was a bit confused to feel that one of the buttons just became much harder to close all of a sudden. And when I looked closer, I actually saw that I had received a cut right across of it, which means that it's metal, it's not broken, but it is bent. The button underneath it is bent as well. I can still close it, but it's just harder, particularly when you press it against your own soft tissue. So that's probably something that I will look into fixing. Another thing worth knowing about this jacket, though it's not only this model from SPES, but more like a lot of jackets from SPES, is it is cut rather high on the hip. And that's not just because this is custom sized. The AP Light has it as well, and that one is standard sized, and I've seen it on other normal AP jackets that are around in my club. They are generally cut quite high on the hip, so that is something that you just need to be aware of when you are worried about cuts to the hip, or just in general. That's a gap that you should close either by your choice of pants, that they are just a bit higher, or by something like the extra skirt that SPES offers. One thing that is a bit of a mixed bag, I said I like the inner material, and I really do, but the inner mesh is kind of vulnerable to Velcro hooks, because it is 3D material, as they call it, 3D mesh, and that means that the hooks of a Velcro strap will hook into this material every chance they get, and if you don't take care, they will pull the strings right out of it. You can be a bit more careful when closing the jacket, and then you will be fine in that regard, but you have to really watch out what you wear with it. So, for example, the gauze I use is just the standard PVT gauze, and that throat protector, has Velcro to the side. And it isn't always quite as easy to get the strap to cover all of the Velcro hooks. And this has left a mark already. Not so far that I would consider it problematic, but it shows. So while the pockets are not really a problem because it is higher cut, do kind of think about what you're wearing with it and what that could potentially mean for the jacket. In my case, this one is kind of old already. It's been used quite well. I will probably just be looking into replacing my gauze into one that doesn't have Velcro, or that at least has it the other way around, so that the hooks are facing away from the inner lining of the jacket, and then you will probably just be fine. That aside though, I have to say that I really like this one. As I said already, I think the design is just really nice looking. The cover material in 800 Newton just feels good, definitely feels better than the 800 Newton fabric that was used for my Neumann jacket. I like the material of the straps, just it all feels very nice and sturdy and well made. I really appreciated the ordering process and just the custom sizing has worked out fine. So if you are looking for a jacket that has a bit of a lower footprint and that you can easily pack for travel, and if you don't need heavy tank-like equipment, then I can really only recommend this one. I really quite like it. Cheers!
Voll ins Leere.